No, hey, what's up, guys? I'm Lucy, here again with Crescent Gaming, and today I have something a little bit different. We are going to be doing a little rant here on massive microtransactions online, or what I used to know as the MMO genre. What I'm going to try to do here today is just kind of explain, I think, where I feel like some of the definitions have changed up on us. Particularly what means the meaning of content and the meaning of microtransaction, I guess. You know, just kind of a brief explanation of what I mean here. You know, I remember maybe even 10 years ago, you know, you bought a game, $60, bam, that was the content. And then now, fast forward a little bit, it seems like in some certain cases, I'm going to try my best not to mention in particular video games, but it probably won't work out too well. I'm sure I'm gonna have to point some out anyway regardless, but what I'm getting at is that now it almost seems like it's flipped, and where the game purchase is almost that in itself is kind of a microtransaction. It's like, you know, here's a weekend where if you get to a certain level you get to play for free and we'll give you a key. You know, so in some instances you don't even have to actually pay for the game. We're not talking about free-to-play games necessarily here, but what I mean is that games that you normally do have to pay money for to get in the first place, like anything, you know, oh, hey, you want something? Well, you got to give me something. It's not just going to be free. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to get at is that with the microtransactions and the way that they've continued on and continued on and continued on, what it seems like is that those parts have actually become the content now. So the game itself has become the microtransaction, sometimes $5 and less for the game, and then the cash shop has become the content. The microtransactions have become the content, where the majority of the content comes from the cash shop. I mean, hell, there's some games on the market right now where out of massive, the only thing that's massive about the game is the cash shop. That's it. I mean, the cash shop is bigger than your open world. Give me a fucking break. Nobody is believing that shit anymore. But apparently, it's still working, I guess. I'm not that in particular thing I'm thinking of is that's another topic. We're not going to go into that. But here, these lines have become crossed and skewed, and us as the player base, I think we do hold a little bit to blame here. But you know, how much is too much? You know how. What's that old saying? You know, you can't beat a dead horse or whatever. But you know, it's like they just don't care anymore. They're gonna drain us dry as much as they can, and instead of doing meaningful, good games that are like, oh hey, you know, here's $60. This is a good game. Here's $60. You made a really good game. This is good. You know, not, oh, you made a shit game. And here's a whole bunch of fluff in this cash shop to make it look good, but every other aspect of it fails, you know. So I'm not really sure where that kind of attitude has come from, and it's just, it drives me up the damn walls. I tell you what, and to see the transactions, and now that's why I've labeled this, you know, massive microtransactions online, because I feel like that is basically what the massive part is now. A lot of games have been reduced down to very, very simplistic mechanics. Most games, even AAA games that I'm talking of right now, they can almost strictly be played solo. Like, what is massive multiplayer online? How does that translate into 90+% of the game being solo? Well, you know, because we need to make simple systems, right? They want to make simple systems so they don't have to spend a lot of time in that aspect of the game, so they can dive real deep into these systems right here. I mean, there's multiple AAA games that are on the market right now where their cash shops are. It is abysmal. It's like, I'm surprised they're not selling rights to the code or some shit in here. You know, it's crazy. Like, y'all got everything under the sun I didn't even know existed is in the cash shop. Well, ain't that a you know? So there's just this extreme disconnect, and it's making all the quality of all the games, for the most part, just go straight down the shit. And the ones that aren't following directly in that absolutely 90-degree vertical dive, they're still going down because they're being brought down by those storms and by those dumpster fires. You know, I'll use Kickstarters as a perfect example. I mean, if you're backing a Kickstarter, I guess there's a reason they call them Kickstarters. You know, you need to get kicked in the ass. I just don't see it anymore. I can't. There's over hundreds of failed ones now that I'm sure you guys can scour the internet for and find videos. Other people have talked about them, so I'm not going to go there. It's just going back to the genre itself. I mean, some games actually come out, cash grab, flop, and never even release. And not just these little cash grab indie games or something like that, or a one-man development team or some Kickstarter. I'm talking about some other games that have good millions of dollars behind them. They still do this, then come out, ask for more money from the player base when they didn't need it. They're just being greedy as fuck. They're like, oh, we don't have a game, let's make a cash shop. And then we're going to make the game from the cash shop. It's going to be developed in this cash shop engine 2.0 or whatever the fuck they use now. I mean, I don't know what cash shop engine they use now. It must be 7.0. It's probably like cash shop 38 CS double XD HD triple vibe version, you know, with it just all the banking information from the next 2 worlds over and shit like that. They're like, oh yeah, baby, it's time to woo, you know, they're ready to dive in that, you know what I mean? So it's ooh, and I know I can't be the only person that feels like this, especially when you have things that are like you're playing a game, for instance. You're really enjoying the game. You've already bought the damn game, okay? You've already bought the expansions, okay? You've already got some other shit. And then all of a sudden you figure out that you're like, wait a minute. There's some DLC that I need to get. And you're like, well, why do I need to get it? And you're like, well, because it has items that I need. And you're like, why do you need them? And you're like, so I can get stronger. And you're like, well, why do you need to get stronger? And you're like, so you can do more shit. And you're like, well, why do you want to do more shit? So I can be more epic. And you're like, why do you want to be more epic? So I can be legend. I mean, I don't know. You know, I'm not sure what everybody's process of thinking is. But it all boils down to roughly the same thing. You know, you want to keep progressing. And then I'm not necessarily against DLCs. Expansions, I have nothing against that. Buying a game, have nothing against that. If the content in the game is good enough, a subscription base, I'm not against that. However, it's when you add so many things into the game that are unnecessary. They're fillers, they're fluffers. And you get to this just constant line of bullshit, and you can't, it's this, in every game you're gonna, not every game, but in most games you're gonna hit the ceiling and you're gonna be like, motherfucker, I can't believe that the reason I can't go do, say, a meta event somewhere is because I don't have enough inventory space to hold 50 or 60 items that are gonna drop from this 2-hour, you know, run through. It's gonna be fun, I'm gonna enjoy it, but I can't even, I have to do inventory management before I even have to go do it, because the inventory management system is set up in a way where there's so many things that you can get to make this, and this, to fluff it out when all of that is relatively useless. You know, up to a certain extent, all games do that. And when you tie things down to that, to where you're purposefully given, just say every mob that you kill in the world drops like 6 items. You're like, for what? I'm going to run out of inventory space really quickly. Well, you realize the inventory space was part of the gimmick the whole time. That was generated in Cash Shop 2.6. You know, they had that 10 years ago. You're way behind, homie. So don't even trip. What I'm saying is that those things were already thought of beforehand, and then the game was designed around that. Well, let's make it aggravating as fuck until you want to pay some money to get around that. And then depending on what it is, how aggravating it may be, well, we might make you pay every month for that super fucking aggravation. So let's do that. Oh yeah, that sounds like a great fucking idea. Here's another buff, you know, that, oh, you can only change your skills when you have this fucking buff. Oh, that's a great fucking idea. You know, let's do that. Oh, I tell you what, let's lock you into this and lock you up. Like, I go on and on and on, and there's other people that can go on and on. You can find tons of shit. It's still massive microtransactions online. I have yet to see right now any games basically prove me wrong. It's a very a dangerous spot that we in, and it really sucks, honestly, that we're even having to. This is, I don't know if you guys have watched some of the other videos on this channel, but we do, game reviews here, and one of the categories that I score the games on is the cash shop. Well, now I have an entire video kind of, diving off into that, where I can't believe that it's something that would be such a huge problem. And it isn't that nobody, and it's not just me, and it's not that a lot of people don't want to support the companies or support the games if it's good. That has nothing to do with it. It's when their systems from Cash Shop 2.6, whatever, have already created all these built-in engines. Like if you've ever used Unity, if you've ever used, Unreal, 3 or 4, engines, you understand what I'm saying. There's templates, in programs like that. Hell, you open a Microsoft Word, they got templates, So it's just like that. Cash Shop 2.6, 3.0, 4.0, 11, whatever it is, has all those templates ready for them to go. Bam, 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 bam. Why do you think so many of the Eastern games literally, not only do they look and feel like each other, and share most of the same UI elements, the only thing that really separates them is the way they do the cash shop and how they attract you, whether it may be get a free game if you do a certain level in a certain amount of time, and then we're going to train you on opening up the in-game cash shop. We're going to train you on opening up the web cash shop. We're going to give you coupons so you can get used to that system, and these are all ones that we give you, which everything that you're doing right now you have to pay for after this little free thing. So it's just little very dangerous ways, and especially for younger folks, they really don't understand any of that kind of stuff going on. So it's MMOs right now are almost, I dare to say, but they're almost gambling games. Now, I'm not going to say video poker or anything. That's not what I mean. I mean just gambling games. Like, they're no longer what I remember them being. And even, with the money, I mean, you're talking about somebody with a 15-plus-year-old WoW account. So it has nothing to do about paying for a good quality product. Now, have I paid them all in 15 years? Well, no, I'm taking some breaks, but that's not the point. The point is that people will pay for something that's good. You don't have to give them shit and then shovel small amounts of pixie dust once a month, or once every 2 months or something like that, once a week, whatever, to here's some pixie dust so you can forget about how everything is. Oh, you guys have been complaining about this mechanic in the game about FPS dropping when you're going in and out of zones and stuff. Okay, and optimization issues. All right, okay, cool, we heard that. So from a developmental stand position and a business standpoint, we're going to introduce a cash shop item that lets you teleport instantly wherever you want to go. So that, son. I mean, bam, how does that sound? Optimization, fixing any of the issues, all that. Here's a cash shop item that'll just make those things about the game a tad bit more palatable. And there's a particular game, I've actually done a review on it already, that does some like that. So it's, I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go from here. Some new games coming up. So we'll see how they decide to handle things. But this whole, massive microtransaction online, I'm tired of you motherfuckers giving me a beta game for 6 years. And then you finally launch the real game, and I've already given you hundreds of fucking dollars, and then you're like, all right, well, you gotta buy the original, and I'm like get the fuck out of here, man. Nobody's trying to hear that anymore, And that cell phone market, again, I said I wasn't gonna get at that in another video, but I thought the video was going to be a little bit shorter. I just decided to rant a little bit, so I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll continue bringing you, more game reviews and more content. So we'll see y'all again.